Thanks for joining us. My name is Chris Vandersloos, and I'm the president of HMS Software. Today I'll be talking about using time control in a time and billing scenario. HMS Software has been around since 1984. We were founded based on creating systems for automating time and project management, and we have long experience in creating a timesheet system. Time control as a commercial product was created in 1994 and is now in its sixth generation as a product. It includes both a mobile interface and is available either for installation on premises or as a hosted subscription model in the cloud. When we talk about timesheets, we can talk about a lot of different kinds of timesheets. The most common kind of timesheet would have to be time and attendance, where HR and payroll would like to know whether you were here or not. If you were here, what do we need to be paying you? And if you weren't here, were you entitled to time for vacation or holiday or some entitlement time? The next most common we'll be talking about today, and that's time and billing. In a time and billing scenario, we want to be able to apply rates to hours and associate those hours to tasks and perhaps projects that are linked inside of a client so that we can invoice that client the appropriate amounts of money as we've been contracted. So today we'll be talking about time and billing and how we can link time and billing to invoicing, finance systems, and to use for both costing and invoicing at the same time. There are other kinds of timesheets, however. You can find timesheets also for project management, where there was a budgeted plan or task, and we'd like to track how many hours or how much time and effort was spent against that task so we can do variance reports. And there's a wide range of requirements for timesheets, whether that's government compliance or just good governance, to make sure that people are spending time on those things that are most productive for the organization. Time control, which we'll be talking about today, was designed to fulfill multiple purposes at one time. And while we'll be talking primarily about time and billing today, time control is able to, from a single interface, support the requirements for time and attendance, time and billing, project management, or a wide variety of government compliance like defense contract audit agency compliance, R&D tax credits, and others. So it's a good system to be used as a single point of entry, but with multiple purposes in mind. Okay, let's talk about time control from a billing scenario. If we're looking at the functionality inside time control, what do we have in time control that would be productive for a billing scenario? The first thing that's good to know is that time control can work in multiple browsers. It's an easy to use interface for those workers who are going to put their time in that'll ultimately become invoiced. Whether those are contractors, part-time people, wage or salaried people, the interface is very easy to understand, requires minimal or no training, and people can access it from wherever they can get access to the internet. And if they're unable to get access via a web browser on a PC or a laptop or an iPad or some internet compliant device, there's even a mobile interface that can be used on your smartphone from your Android, Windows Mobile 7, BlackBerry, or iPhone. The flexibility in time control is extensive, and that starts with one of our tables, in particular the rate table, where we're able to create multiple values for each rate code and use an unlimited number of rates in the system. And the table flexibility allows us to group timesheet data, project data, and other data by client or by any other criteria that we choose. Time control is at its core a finance system, and that means that we have complete auditability, not just of who changed things, but also when timesheets were approved, who approved them, whether a timesheet was rejected or not, and when it was reapproved. All of that is tracked in the system. Time control has extensive business validation rules where you can create rules that say what make up an acceptable timesheet. Does it have to have exactly 35 hours? Can I put time on something to which I wasn't assigned? All those kinds of rules can be created directly in the system and applied either globally or by group. There's extensive reporting and links to both project management and finance, invoicing, payroll systems, so that modules can be created to send that data out to other systems. Okay, let's take a look at time control in action. We've configured some data so that you can see time control as it is configured for a time and billing scenario. Okay, I've logged here into Time Control 6, and we've logged into the system as Gail Robinson. Gail is an individual in this time control system, and we can see Gail has a particular dashboard. Dashboards can be created by the administrator to contain anything we like. We have some announcements over here on the right. We have some information on the left about vacation time. It looks like Gail has taken 1 day of vacation so far. She has no outstanding timesheets that are underway, but she's going to start one now because it's the end of the week and Gail is going to enter her timesheet. So she adds her timesheet in the timesheet area by clicking on Add, and Time Control will show her the next logical date for which a timesheet is required. We click on OK, and in the background, Time Control has created some preloaded charges. This came from one of two sources. Either from charges that came from a project management system like Microsoft Project or Primavera or OpenPlan, or from personal preloaded charges that she defined as things she'd like to add to her timesheet each time she adds a new timesheet. A couple of things to notice about the screen. First of all, we can see each of these lines is for a different project, and each one is for a particular task. And this is one of the ways time control can be configured, is to have a client and then a project, and inside the project a charge. Time control can also be configured quite simply to have just a client name and things that you can do for that client. Also on the far right, you can see that we have a rate code, and the rate is different for each of these projects. Time control allows us to have project-specific rates and an unlimited number of rates per employee. So an employee might be charged out at one value for one project and another value for another. Well, in Gail's case, she mostly worked on the auto project this week. So we're going to say that she did most of her week right here. In fact, let's just take one of those days out because we'd like to add something a little bit later. And we'll save that line. And I'll just add another line for Monday. But on Tuesday, Gail worked on a task that's not even listed here, so she's going to need to add a line. And I'm doing that really so that you can see how we've organized our projects inside of clients. So we have a whole series of clients, and within those clients, we've listed our projects. We've done this because time control allows us to group by anything we decide. Well, let's say we're working on the Polar project. For some more hours here. I mean, she had the 1.1 task preloaded, but in fact, for the Polar project, it turns out that Gail did work on the security design, and that's where she put her time on Tuesday. And so we'll fulfill our timesheet like that, giving us a total of 40 hours. Now, on any of these lines, we can add additional information. For example, we might say in this particular task, on the 1.3 task, perhaps Gail would like to say that, yes, I need to add some notes, did additional work that was not expected on this task. And so that will now be saved into that timesheet line and will be available later on. You can see that we've highlighted the cell into a blue to indicate that, yes, there are some notes for that particular line that could be printed out later, perhaps to justify the invoice. Once Gail's done with her timesheet, she releases it to her supervisor. Tom, in this case, will be able to look at that timesheet and take a look and make sure that it looks the way that it should. He can accept it. He may be given the rights to make additions to this timesheet, or he can reject it if it's unacceptable so that Gail can update it. Now, when we release that timesheet, in the background, time control applied any validation rules that applies to Gail. We can check for things like, well, no more than 24 hours in a day, or no sick leave on weekends. But we can also check very specific pieces of data. For example, did you select a rate code that was appropriate to that project at that time? I'm going to show you a little bit more about rate codes in a moment. And we're going to do that just by adding another timesheet for Gail. So let's just add one timesheet, and we're going to do something very simple. We're going to say that Gail worked on this automation task all week, so 40 hours on this task. But in fact, on one of those days, she had to do additional work. So I'm going to copy that line. So now I have the same line again, and to say on Monday and Tuesday she did 2 hours, but not at the regular rate. We'd like to say that she did work at the overtime rate. So you can see that we have rates now that are organized by project. I have the projects all hierarchically, and we can say, well, that's Gail's rate, not anyone else's rate, but Gail's rate for the automation overtime project. So now when we save this line, you can see that we have a total of 44 hours, but 4 of those hours are at the overtime rate. Now, Gail can't see what that dollar value is or what that currency value is, but she knows that she's chosen the right time. And we can make rules that say only so much time at the standard rate and so much time at the overtime rate. And when she's ready for that, she can release that for Tom. If we have rules about how much overtime you're allowed or not allowed to charge, we can make those rules right into the validation rules. Now, once you've entered the time and the time has been all approved and posted, we can go into time control as an administrator like Joe Gardner is, and we see a bit of a different dashboard. Well, Joe's got the same announcements, but here we can see we have 51% time has been billable, 49% has been unbillable. We can make these kinds of dashboard displays right in your dashboard. And Joe gets quite a lot more room to see the data at the top of the screen. I just wanted to show a couple of tables and how we've organized this data in the background. And in particular, not so much the employee table, but the rates table, which shows us the rates for different people. You can see these have been all organized by project. If I look at the auto rate, these are all the auto rates. We saw the rate for Gail Robinson, the overtime rate. And very important to see, here we have up to 9 values for each of those rate codes. Well, what that means is that when Gail selected overtime, she was billed at $90 an hour for those 4 hours, but internally we're only paying her $30. If I look at Gail's regular time, well, again, she's $30 internally, but we bill her out at $55. So this allows really an infinite amount of scenarios to be managed within the rates table, which is extremely powerful. You can see also that we've linked the rates to the project, so this particular rate is associated to the project called Automated Systems and to the employee Gail Robinson, and that's how that rate has been created. Once we've created these kinds of rates, we can report on this information or export it however we wish. If we're reporting on information, we can do something simple like a billing summary, where I say, show me the summary for all projects and all clients. Here I see for Acres Partners, we had 112.5 hours billed. For Baker Engineering, we worked on 3 different projects, included the automated system, for a total of 228 hours. And then Camden Marketing, 215.5, and then internally for HMS, we did 266 hours for a total of 822 hours and $52,890 billed. So these values all came out of those tables that we looked at. Now, often we'll take information like this and create an invoice, and we're required to justify that invoice later. We might get a call from Baker Engineering, for example, saying, I would like a detailed accounting of how that information came together. So we say, well, we'd like to have information only for Baker Engineering. We do that using a filter. And now we get detailed information. Let me just make that a little bit smaller so we can see all the columns. Now we have detailed information for each person and each day that they worked and the number of hours that they worked. The billable price, that's the rate that came from the appropriate rate table for that person. And you can see that 2 hours for Gail goes out at $110. For other people, it may go out at different rates on different projects. So the same person working on a different project may be billed at a different value altogether. So the detailed reports allow us to see information in a great deal more detail, and we created these using the time control menu generator. You can see that the reports here look an awful lot like Excel. In fact, there's so much like Excel that we can actually save this information as an Excel file, and then that information can be opened by Excel later on. Now, we've been looking at billing prices, but one of the things that's often of interest to management is I would like to see both the cost of that time and the amount that we billed out. Perhaps we had some hours that cost us a certain amount but that were unbillable, and other hours that were done at overtime where we're going to have to pay that overtime eventually. Well, time control has both of those values if you remember. So if we look at the same information in a detailed fashion, so now we're looking at the detailed report, and again I'll just close up a few fields to make it easier for us to look at. Now we have the billable price again for each of those people and the internal cost for each of those hours. So now you can see the internal cost is less than the billable price. Here we did 3 hours. That was at $100 an hour, but at Tom Logan's rate, it only cost us $127.50. And in fact, if we scroll down to the bottom of this report, we're going to find out that for all the hours we billed, down to the bottom, we had 822 hours. We billed them out at $52,000, but it cost us $26,000 and change to deliver those hours, including the hours that were done internally. So a great deal of flexibility and a great deal of data that becomes available to us when we report it. If we are linked to a finance system or a project management system, we can send information out to a project management system directly, or we can send it out to other systems such as to finance, such as Dynamics from Microsoft, or QuickBooks, or SAP, or Oracle Financials. We can send information off to human resources. We can send information off to payroll services like ADP, or to virtually any other type of system that we define. And the data is created in a transaction file, either as XML or a CSV file, so that those systems can import it. Now, if we prefer, the database of time control is open. We can make a much more intimate link between these systems. But moving data via transaction file is the most common way that we send information to finance and to other external systems. If we're sending information to a project management tool like Microsoft Project, then we can simply select those projects that we want to export, and it will go to the appropriate project management tool directly. All of that's been predefined in the system. So time control, designed to be able to be very easy to use for the end user. Gail was able to go in and in just a couple of minutes fulfill her week's time. But in the background, the administrators and the managers are able to see data in a great level of detail and use that information to update either billing systems or to create invoice reports directly that can then be turned into Excel and sent to the client. So tremendous amount of flexibility in the background, very easy in the foreground. Now, we've only looked at time control from one perspective in a web browser using Internet Explorer, but there are other options. We can show you a couple of those screens as we conclude our presentation. Okay, let's wrap up what we've looked at and some other aspects of time control. As you saw, we have an easy web interface. The mobile interface of time control also available. We'll show you some screens of that in a moment. Time control can work in a wide variety of browsers. We were working in Internet Explorer, but you can also work in Chrome or Safari, Mozilla, or Safari on an iPad, or Firefox. The system is multilingual. Numerous languages are included, and you can edit those or add your own. You can install time control on your own premises by purchasing licenses, or you can subscribe to time control online for our hosted timesheet as a service in the cloud. If you're installing on your premises, it's very flexible architecture, working with multiple databases and other elements of your network architecture. Time control includes expense tracking. Although we didn't look at it today, you can put in non-labor costs into your timesheet and associate those for billing. Time control's matrix approvals are appropriate when we need to do approvals both for the individual and for the account, where a project manager or an account manager can look at hours and decide whether to include them or not. The validation rules and our automated approvals, also very powerful aspect of time control. Time request allows us to do vacation approvals right inside the product. This can be seen in other webcasts on the timecontrol.com site. We saw a couple of reports that were customized by the time control application for reporting. You can create your own reports. The ones that we've created here are available for download for free from time control. And while we didn't do any links to it today, you can also link to project management tools like Microsoft Project or Project Server, Oracle Primavera, or Deltek's OpenPlan and Cobra. And links to finance tools such as SAP or Oracle Financials or Microsoft Dynamics, or virtually any finance or invoicing tool can be linked. And numerous government requirements can be complied with using time control, such as the DCAA or R&D or Sarbanes-Oxley or others. When we talk about time control mobile, here's some screens of time control working on either a BlackBerry or an iPhone. The system also supports Android or Windows 7 mobile devices, and allowing you to do your timesheet and even approve timesheets from wherever you are. HMS has maintained technology partnerships with a wide variety of companies, in particular Microsoft, Oracle, and Primavera, which is now a part of Oracle, are longtime partners, as is Deltek. And we have worked with SAP and numerous other technology companies to bring time control links as required to different organizations. You may know some of our clients, whether by logo or by category. Time control is used across a wide variety of industries. Not everyone is using time control for time and billing, but many are. Time control can be used for time and attendance, for time and billing, for project status time, for HR tracking and vacation tracking, for direct payroll input and others. So you may see organizations that you know. We're very proud of our client list, and this is just a small representation of them. Time control is available around the world. Our dealer network is extensive, and our dealers have experience both in selling and supporting the product. You are always welcome to contact HMS directly in Canada, where our headquarters are in Montreal, or talk to any of our dealers that you can find from our timecontrol.com website. If you'd like more information about time control, you can try time control for free at timecontrol.com. If you're interested in the hosted version, you can take a look at the criteria for that at timecontrol.net. If you'd like to find out more about HMS Software, the publishers of Time Control, then go to hmssoftware.ca or just email us at info@hmssoftware.ca and we'll be happy to help you. Thanks very much for your time and your attention today, and please let us know if there's any questions we can answer on how to use time control for time and billing.